What up is Morgan's Dynasty Football Dads. We are giving away a free Brandon Ayuk jersey. Yes, we are. All right, all you have to do is be a subscriber for a chance to win that free jersey.
Now turn up.
All right, we are going through the Dynasty deep dives here, and we're just going to do four prospects that I think that won't be drafted in the first two rounds of Dynasty rookie drafts. I don't think they're going to be the first two round picks in the NFL draft either. And the closest one might be the number one guy here. He might be drafted in round 3, but these guys, some of them might be drafted in round 5, 6, 7 of the NFL draft. But we're going to go with 4 just to keep an ear on, I guess, ear and eyes open at the NFL draft here in a month and see where some of these players land and see what opportunities might arise with some of these situations. But my number one is going to be Jaret Patterson. Jaret Patterson is a Buffalo running back. So he was actually somebody, when we look at undrafted free agencies the last couple of years, when we're talking Philip Lindsay, when we're talking James Robinson is the well-known, of course, because of last year. But we're looking at a lot of times dominated ratings. And so James Robinson had a huge dominator rating. He had a 48% actually dominator rating 1 year, which is just crazy. No one has that around college football the last 2 years. That is just a crazy dominator rating. So what is Jaret Patterson's dominator rating? We look, he had 40% and 43%, if I can talk. 40% and 43% dominator rating, which is an incredible high dominator rating. And he looked like he dominated the Buffalo competition. You could see that he has crazy stats, 8 touchdowns in a game, like just stats that you don't see. He is a zone run scheme running back. So it'd be very interesting to see where he goes. If he goes to like a San Francisco type, maybe he goes there in the 4th, 5th round or something like those lines. But he has really good power, really good pad level, and he has really good vision. They did some vision analytics of him, and it shows that he's really good at finding those spots in the zone scheme and working well with that. So if he goes to a team that implements zone scheme, then this could be a fit where you go, oh, wow, this could be something here. We could be starting to build something. Or if he doesn't, if he goes to a different type of run scheme, then we might be having some issues and he might be falling off the map and he might not be drafted where we need him to be, because when you look at a guy who is 5'9", under 200 pounds, so we're talking about a small stature guy, 5'9", 195-ish, they said. He doesn't play like he's 5'9", 195. He plays like 5'9", 215 pounds, 220 pounds. He plays like that because he has decent power, good like breaking tackle abilities, and he's not an amazing pass catcher. So when we see 5'9", like 195, we're thinking, oh, maybe he can turn into James White, worst case scenario. Not really. He's not really an amazing pass catcher. So he's ultimately the boom or bust. When we call thunder or lightning, he's the thunder, not the lightning, which is interesting for his stature and stuff like that. So Jaret Patterson is going to be one of my guys that I'm definitely going to be keeping my eyes open on and seeing, because I think he could be one of those starting running backs that we see and go, wow, like, where did he come from? He came from Buffalo. Like, no one knew, like, everyone's kind of heard the 8 touchdown story and stuff like that, but no one really knows a ton about him because he played on such a small school. But a huge dominator rating, which is very, very beneficial for like rookies that are into those later rounds drafted. And so Jaret Patterson, again, one of those kind of lottery dart throws, and that's what we're trying. We're just throwing some darts, and hopefully one of the, usually like one in like the 3rd, 4th, 5th round each hit when you're talking about rookie drafts. You get the random James Robinsons and you get the random Darius Slaytons and stuff like that. It's rare, but you have to throw some darts at it. My number 2 is going to be a running back from, again, a small school, Louisiana Lafayette, Elijah Mitchell. So Elijah Mitchell, again, if you were talking about somebody that is even closer to James Robinson than Jaret Patterson, because Jaret Patterson's a smaller, like, 195 back. We're talking about a guy who is that James Robinson size. He is 5'11". I think they said like 215. He is 3.5 yards per snap, yards per snap. He also has 4.5 yards per snap on 2020. So if you're looking at just yards per snap ability by Elijah Mitchell, he is amazing. I mean, you look at even his ability. I mean, he split some time at Louisiana Lafayette, which kind of creates some of these like dominator ratings aren't as good, and it creates some of his stats that are just not as maybe as you're not going to see the Jarrett Patterson stats when it comes to Elijah Mitchell. But what Elijah Mitchell has is he has size, he has explosiveness, he breaks tackles. He has so many different abilities. The only thing he lacks is like this corner speed that gets him around the corner. But ultimately, in between the tackles, Elijah Mitchell is a wonderful dart throw. And again, out of any of these like later half, round maybe 4 to 7, and we're talking 4 to 7 in the NFL draft, and we're talking probably mid-third and on running backs, these are 2 running backs that I'm going to be throwing darts at and hopefully seeing what hits and what doesn't, but these are where I'd be putting my chips in. All right, so those are 2 running backs. Again, small schools. I think these guys are going to be drafted behind the likes of like Michael Carter and Trey Sermon. There's so many different like those kind of tier running backs, and of course behind Chuba and all that stuff. But I think these running backs are going to be even like a round later. So again, we're trying to find those small schools. All right, number 3 is going to be Darius Newsom, and he's out of North Carolina. He's a slot wide receiver, but he's shown the ability to be able to catch deep targets. So he's had 13 catches of 20 plus yards. That is second most. He was a slot wide receiver, but he can definitely play outside into that X wide receiver area. And one of my favorite things I like to see is he is second in contested catch in this draft class, only to Jalen Waddle. He had 65%. I like guys that can get contested catch. We look at Justin Jefferson last year, who's in that contested catch type of area. I like people that separate even better, and Darius Newsom can have some. He can separate. So especially at that slot type of position. So we're looking at a wide receiver that may not have that huge upside. We're not talking like raw athlete, amazing. We're not talking about Tamarian Terry, who could be compared to Josh Gordon, and we're not talking about Seth Williams, who is very inconsistent but could do that. We are talking about a different type of wide receiver. His ceiling would be like Victor Cruz, but he's not. He's very different than Victor Cruz. But that's the type of player that we're hoping to get out of Darius Newsom here. So, Cade Johnson is going to be my number 4, and he's out of South Dakota State University. We're going to go quickly through him. 34% dominator rating. That is right behind Bateman, who is at 35%. And ultimately, South Dakota State University, of course, you know the COVID issues there. Of course, that's why Cade Johnson, you see he might be under the radar because of that non-2020 season. He had a breakout age of 20. He ranked 3rd, though, in all wide receivers of this class at a Pro Football Focus 91 rating. So that's awesome. He shows that he could be a smaller type of player, or smaller school player that can translate maybe to the NFL level here. And he had 67 receptions for 1,332 yards and 17 touchdowns as a sophomore. Breakout age of course, 20. Again, dominator rating, has the ability and talent, I believe, as a smaller school that can translate in. I think he's just under the radar because of the COVID issues. And there's going to be players out there that we're going to look and go, why didn't we pick him? Because he easily could have had a great junior year, but COVID just kind of shut down their season. I think we're going to see that over and over and over again. We're going to see 2, 3, 4 players that we're going to be like, why didn't we do that? Like, that makes no sense. So those are my top 4 deep dynasty dives, at least right now. We're going to go through some more here, but we need to see some landing spots. That's what we need to see. So this is Marcus with Dynasty Football Dads. Remember, subscribe to the free Brandon and you jersey. All right. See you tomorrow. Peace out.
Now turn up.